All right, we're going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast. Today's focus is about the Blue model. You see, it's so easy for us to focus and talk about the day-to-day operations with students in the building and some of our hybrid experience or CCP, but it's not often that we are able to have a conversation with online students. It's more personalized, and we wanted to showcase one of our students. We invited many more, but we have the valedictorian of our online students here, Melody, who's going to be talking a lot, hopefully, about her experience on the Blue model. So, Melody, you're in 10th grade, and you are fully online. So, what has this experience been like for you?
It's had its ups and downs. It's sort of difficult that there aren't many people just sitting there telling you how to do things. It's more like you have more, I guess you could say, you have to do things more yourself. You're responsible for what you have to do, but at the same time, it's kind of nice being at home, being in a comfortable place like my room, doing my work. So,
I love the color of your room. Is that like a soft, like violet?
Yeah, my mom painted it.
It's really cool.
Thanks.
What would you say is your favorite class to take online?
Biology and ELA have been pretty good. There weren't really any art classes or anything that I could get into this time because of the corona and everything. Those are usually my favorites, but biology, ELA, Spanish too.
So, what is your typical day look like? So anyone out there can understand, you're following our regular schedule, whatever schedule we have here at CHS, you follow. But what is a typical day? I'm sure it's constantly changing. Some are in person, some are not. What does it look like so that people understand like how you have to be flexible?
Well, we get to get up a little later, but sometimes we get to go on, we check the schedule a bit earlier, we make breakfast, and then we can just hop online whenever we want to. I see a lot of people just like sort of sleeping in class a bit too, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who are taking this seriously and they're giving this their all. So when we go into school, it's just like normal classes, but at the same time, you can run downstairs and get a snack when you're hungry. You can just come back up, come back to class, get your work done. Lunch sometimes gets a little difficult because sometimes I forget when it is, but there's no bells telling you what to do.
Yeah, I can imagine how challenging that would be because we have trained ourselves to listen for bells. I mean, I was in the hallway right before the end of the period, and it was almost like clockwork. People were standing up about 2:24 and meandering towards the door of the cafeteria because they're like, the bell's about to ring. But you don't have that. The phone might ring at your house, but you have to kind of manage your own system.
Yep, sometimes we even forget like when class ends and we'll go a couple minutes over and then we'll be rushing to the next class. There's like nothing telling us where to go, when to do it.
Melody, do you use, so I know some of the students have used this year setting, they have the bell schedule set in their phone or on their Chromebook or a timer or something like that. Do you use that or you just kind of you've learned the times?
Nope, I have Infinite Campus open the whole time, so I just usually check in, and then when it's getting close to the next class, then I'll keep track on the clock.
Got it. That makes sense.
Do you find that you have more time to get things done because you're at home and you're not traveling as much, or there's not as much time in between? Are you finding you're able to accomplish more?
I think that I am, but at the same time, the work sometimes gets a little harder because you can't really ask questions as often. Like there's no teacher there sometimes who you can just go in because they're talking to someone else or they're not in the building or there's technical issues. So sometimes, yeah.
So we've used Google Classroom a lot this year and certainly other platforms that you've had to learn because of the manipulation that could go on, like in a CAMI document. Our teachers have done a tremendous job being thrown into this in the course of the summer transitioning the school year with all the different changes. So they've done remarkable things, and they're consistently trying to refine the practice. What do some of the assessments look like? Because you can do a paper pencil test, and yes, we do have courses that use GradeCam and they use Google Classroom quizzes, but what do your assessments look like?
So everything's done online, which, yeah, we can't really do it on paper because the teacher can't be there looking over your shoulder to make sure you're not cheating. So everyone has their cameras on when we're taking an assessment, so they can't really, well, they can see us while we're working. And then we have the in-class time to do our work. So in that respect, it's sort of like a normal test. Other than that, I think it's pretty much the same.
Have you been placed into some of these breakout rooms so that you can work with other students? How's that been for you? Because in the past, obviously, you'd be sitting in the same room, and now you have to engage like how we are with content. Was there a learning curve with that for you?
There sort of was. It feels like people are less inclined to, talk to each other and stuff when they're not in person. It's sort of like the 5 minutes where people are waiting to see who's going to make the first move and turn on their mic. But other than that, like once you start talking, it's pretty much the same.
Apart from school, what are some of the things that you're doing to socialize with friends or family, or just people around you?
I still use text messages. Sometimes I go on calls with my friends. We play the games together. I'm also hosting a D&D campaign for a couple of my friends. So
Nice.
we meet up on the weekends and we play together. Well, online, that is.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I lost my train of thought. My phone was buzzing. So I'm sure it's just like a regular school day for you, and your phone buzzes. You have your Chromebook in front of you. I want to ask you a question that will help the three of us. How can we better serve our online students administratively, and or what we can communicate to our teachers that will help them also understand kind of what goes on in your life?
I think that so far it's been pretty good. They're extending due dates and stuff so that people who are having technical issues have more time to get work done. And like if they forget to turn something in, then they can just turn it in later, get the work done in their own time. I'm not entirely sure. Everything seems to be pretty good at the moment. Wi-Fi goes out sometimes though.
Are there some courses that you wish were available to online students that aren't currently available?
Yeah, art classes, like I get that it would be harder to do that online, but those were some of my favorite ones in person.
Okay.
Yeah. What's impressive is you have experienced, obviously, in person, because you were a part of that 8th grade class that came up here as a high school student. And you had 8th grade and 9th grade, and you took some courses early on in your grade, I'd say middle school years, as they call them, that were high school credits. But whether it was in person or online, you have a rolling GPA of 4.0. That's impressive. It's impressive to me. So, I mean, you are a chameleon to your environment. And I wish that you could be kind of the student advocate for some of our other friends out there that, like you said, I don't know why they would show up to an online class and put their head down. That makes no sense to me. Like, just keep your head down.
Like, people tend to, like, when it's online, there's no one there telling you, like, you have to get to this class or you're going to get a detention. So people just won't show up sometimes. But a lot of kids still are showing up and doing their work.
Mr. Banderas, should you run an online detention?
I don't know about that. That'd be, what would you sit there and stare at each other for a half hour?
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
So did you work on scheduling your classes for next year? Do you have, I know there was an interest survey that went out for possible opportunities, not guaranteed, but possible opportunities for online interest for next year. what are some of your plans moving into 21-22 for the fall?
We're talking about like if I'm going to go back to school next year. I'm probably going to go back to school next year. We're getting our vaccines and stuff. I'm going to get my second one pretty soon. So I'm going back into school, probably. Definitely.
Excellent. Out of curiosity, how'd your first vaccine go?
Pretty good. I didn't really get any side effects or anything. I was just tired for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So we always end our podcast, and again, we appreciate you showing up and participating in it. We really do, and we're grateful for your time. Could you think about, and we can go around so that you can process somebody that you are grateful for, both in and out of school, that you want to give a shout out to this week. And I'll give you, time to think about it, and then we can kind of go around. Gentlemen, do you have anyone you want to give a shout out to?
I do. One of the people that is doing a lot of stuff right now, and not always like in front of the scenes, but kind of behind the scenes, is one of our teachers who's always wanted to be very flexible for students and very helpful to a lot of students, and that's Miss Bernacki. And she's doing just a lot of different things right now, a lot of cool things. If you didn't know, she's working on another degree for her school counseling license. So she just does a lot of neat things out there, and again, always extremely flexible and willing to work with students in any way possible. So shout out to Ms. Bernacki this week.
Awesome. Mr. Hyam?
Shout out to our kitchen staff. Our kitchen staff is just rolling along, feeding more students than ever, adjusting to the new requirements and everything that they're putting in place and what they have to deal with. And they just keep feeding our students so they can be successful in class. And, it needs to be recognized, the great work that they're doing. So I'd like to thank the kitchen staff.
That line on Wednesday morning for breakfast, that was impressive. It was very impressive. They were about 40 kids deep, waiting to get whatever they were serving. Melody, anyone you would like to give a shout out to this week?
My parents, they've been awesome with this whole COVID thing. Like, they're just fine with us being at home all the time, even though we're annoying sometimes. They've just been awesome this whole time.
That's great.
Melody, have you ever watched one of these podcasts?
I haven't really, but I'm usually doing homework and setting up for stuff all the time, working on projects.
So during these podcasts, we typically pick on Mr. Hyam. So do you have anything to pick on Mr. Hyam for?
Not that I can think of, not right now.
Okay, that's okay.
Mr. Bandera, quick question. Is Mr. Kovac in your office?
He was at the start of this, but he ran.
Okay, because I didn't know if that was instigated by his best friend.
Not this time.
I want to give a shout out to Chris May. He is our head of maintenance, and he is kind of for us, he's like our local doctor for all the problems that we have in our that arrive, whether it's weather related or pipe related. Today we had a clog that he came up with a creative idea and immediately was able to snake out the problem and was able to repair the problem. And he does that all the time. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. May and his staff for all the great things that they do to keep our buildings working. Hopefully, I think, Melody, that you would probably have to be not only the student, but you would have to be your lunch supervisor. You probably have to be the maintenance staff. I'm sure that you are asked and forced to clean the room. So you are merging your worlds together.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate you joining us today. And for all those other Blue Model kids that couldn't join, we are thinking of you, and certainly reach out to any of us, including Mrs. Tupaz, who just can't wait to see everyone's face. She's the virtual guidance counselor that is, quick with her fingers typing, but just loves to work with kids too. So Melody, if you have any questions about anything, upcoming events, air tests, or anything, please reach out to any of us, including your counselor for this school year, Mrs. Tupaz. So we appreciate you. And Any final words?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always welcome, and we can't wait to see you soon. Have a great night, everyone, and go Toppers. Thanks again.
Go Toppers.
Yep.
Bye.